He was a military genius, but he was also a great humanitarian. He was a guy who really practiced the golden rule. He didn't just believe in it, he tried to live it, and he did it with amazing results. Going on, George never lost a battle during the Civil War. He's the only general on the Union side or on either side who can make that claim. Never lost a battle. He ended the war in 5 states, west of the Appalachian Mountains, east of the Mississippi River, the states of Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and he ended the war in December of 1864, fully 4 months before Lee surrendered to Grant in Virginia, and 5 months before Joe Johnston surrendered to Sherman in North Carolina. You won't hear of another instance during the Civil War, I'll wager you, where 40,000 men issued their own order to attack and attacked in that fashion, and you'll never hear of anyone that climbed scaled a 500-foot ridge and chased Confederates 7 miles. That was impossible. That's one of a kind in the war. So on the night of the second day, the sub-commanders all met with Rosecrans, and Thomas was the last to speak, and all the other sub-commanders said, let's pull out. We can't do anything. We're at a standstill here. We're at a loggerhead. Thomas got up as the last to speak, stood out in the middle of the floor, tipped his head back, and bellowed, "This army does not retreat!" And then promptly turned around, went back to his wooden chair, sat down, tipped the chair against the wall, tipped his hat down, folded his arms, and waited for Rosecrans to make a decision. Then what he does is he moves the cavalry, and he moves them around the mountain where they're screened out from view by the Confederates, and he will spread the cavalry so that they're even with the front line of this corps and move them right along here and around in order to concentrate firepower, so that these units in here are being hit with the rifle fire and cannon fire from about 270 degrees. This is the only army, the only Union army who ever chased anybody 250 miles. This is the only Union army that ever annihilated the opposing army. And this is the only Union commander who ever allowed 25,000 prisoners to go home. Probably the most humane thing that you can think of that the guy would do. Flank of the front line, if you will, on the mountainside over here, and the same on the mountainside over here, and he turns his guns around so that they can enfilade. You all know what enfilade means? Shoot these guys from the side instead of the front, and shoot them from the back if you can. And so you enfilade, and that's exactly what he did with the artillery on both sides, and it was so hot from getting hit from the front, from the sides, and from the back that they all skedaddled. They got out of there as quick as they could, off the field, and retreated back towards the south of Tennessee. During their freshman year, the 3 roommates were standing in the middle of their room when an upperclassman came in and started harassing them, giving them ridiculous orders of things that he wanted them to do. And George didn't put up with any of that tomfoolery. And so he turned to the upperclassmen and said, "Leave this room immediately." And the upperclassmen ignored him and just kept on harassing the 3 of them, and George lost his temper. He grabbed the upperclassman by the lapels of his uniform jacket, lifted him right up off the floor, and said, "I'm going to set you down, and you better leave this room immediately, because if you don't, I'll pick you right back up, and I'll put you right out of that window." That window was on the second floor. The upperclassman wisely decided that the smart thing to do was to leave the room, and the word was soon communicated, "Don't go in there," and no upperclassman went in and bothered them for the rest of that academic year.